So we're just going to walk through this outline example, a couple of reminders about the outline. As I've mentioned before, I do think that outlining can help you get a much better result from your work. I think it helps you organize your ideas. And in this case, think about where you're going to put your interview excerpts and so forth. So same basic concept as what we did in the idea sheet, and you can use your idea sheet to help you develop this. You can kind of put the same information, you can clean it up a little bit. Now remember, this is an outline, not a draft. It does not have to be complete sentences. It doesn't have to have transitions. Of course, you're going to have all that in the actual draft, but this is just making sure that there is a placeholder for everything that you're going to use in your paper, and it's in the place you want it to be. That helps you avoid repetition, helps you keep from missing out on things, and so forth. So we're going to first of all describe our problem. Then we're going to focus on our ideal proposal. Remember that it's okay if this proposal is kind of a little bit out of the box, or a little bit more extreme, or a little bit more idealistic, or even one-sided, because you are going to change it at the end. So you want a solid proposal to work with here. It can be one part or can have a couple of parts, no more than 4 or 5 components to it though. But a clear, specific proposal, that's what your paper is really going to argue. And then you're going to include your 2 points per side here. So your 2 points for side A, or the rebuttals, are the kind of cons against the proposal. What are the 2 reasons that this proposal could be problematic, or too expensive, or too unfair, or whatever that might be? Remember, we need 2 good, distinct ideas, and you don't want to ignore any good points. So if there's something that would be an obvious problem with your proposal, you don't want to ignore that. You want to cover it. Remember, we're trying to be Rogerian here. We're trying to be fair to both sides as much as possible. So really give these the same amount of space you would your justifications, which is the next side. Now these points can match up. You can have 1 point about money on the con side, and then you could have a point about money on the pro side. But they relate to your proposal and the strengths and weaknesses of that idea. So the justifications are the pros about your idea, why it is a good idea, why it will work, and so forth. And again, you can counter those rebuttals directly or not. That's up to you. The one thing you don't want to do in the justification is to introduce new changes to the plan. That's what the compromise is for. Don't add in new ideas that aren't in the original at this stage. You're still arguing the original proposal here. And then your conclusion is that detailed compromise, where you have changed the plan completely and made it a better plan, or you have edited the plan to make it more fair, more reasonable, whatever those things might be. Okay, and again, using this to help you with the draft that we're going to get to next week. So here is an example. This one is about the merit system and the FYE classes. So if you're not familiar, the FYE is the first year experience class. You may or may not have had this class, and it has a requirement of a certain number of merit approved activities every semester. And these can be things like plays, lectures, events on campus. The common reading events count for this, and so forth. So the problem is, and that's what you want to describe here, and we're addressing this to FYE teachers and planners, so they already know some of this, but we still want to sort of lay the problem out. So obviously many students are taking advantage of these events. They are getting something out of them, but some people are not, and some people are actually signing in and leaving, or they are signing in and leaving partway through, or doing something else the whole time, or what have you. So those people, unfortunately, are getting the same credit in most cases as the people who really stayed and participated and did their best with the activity or event or whatever it was. So that's our problem. So our proposal has 3 parts to it in this case. Again, 1 to 4 parts is a good range for this, but it should be a specific plan, specific idea. So here's our plan. We're going to switch it, so instead of signing in at the beginning of the event, like most of the time we do, we're going to have people sign in at the end, which will discourage people from leaving early. We're also going to, for the FYE specifically, where they have to have the merit credit, we're going to have a little quiz for each event on campus that would qualify, and they have to answer a few questions to kind of help ensure that they actually participated. And thirdly, things like the upcoming spring fling or fall fling, different activities like that that are kind of open-ended. instead of just being able to say they went, they have to do a scavenger hunt or a quiz to kind of get credit. So they've done this before where they have, you have to go to certain tables and have somebody sign something to kind of make sure you moved through the whole spring fling or spring celebration event. So those are our 3 pieces. So here are the rebuttals. These are our 2 cons, our 2 problems with that proposal as it was introduced. One is that it interferes with the benefits. So if the whole goal here is that people will get something out of college activities and so forth, this kind of takes away. It's more of a punishment than it is really encouraging people to do things because they're worthwhile and so forth. So our first quote is here. Remember, you have to use your interviews twice in this paper. So in this case, it says some students already fail to see the importance of FYE and merit, so adding extra tension, extra requirements will only build dislike and apathy instead of appreciation. And then our second con is that this is going to take more time, not only for the organizers to get this material onto Blackboard, also for the students to take the quizzes, do the scavenger hunt, whatever that might be, but also even the signing out at the end of the event. Everybody's trying to leave at the same time. This may cause people to be late for work or classes or whatever they need to do, and occasionally you'll have somebody stay 50 minutes of a 55-minute presentation, and that means those people can't get the credit even though they stayed almost the whole time and legitimately had to leave early. So these are our problems with the plan, 2 good different ideas. And then on the other side, what are our justifications? Why is this a good idea? So it does stop people, or tries to help stop people from leaving early, which is not fair. It's not fair to the students who are participating the whole time, but also it's embarrassing for the presenters. It's sometimes very distracting. It's noisy. It makes it bad when people are getting up and leaving in the middle, or when they sign in and walk away. That may encourage other people to do the same, that kind of thing. So it's just not a good look. It's not fair to anybody who is genuinely participating. Secondly, yes, this stuff is all going to take a little time for students and for the people putting it together, but it's not a ton of extra time. It's a few more minutes every week, which granted, some of us are really pushed for. But still, it's not terribly difficult. We could get this system. We can share information. The quizzes could be shared across Blackboard. Not every teacher is going to have to separately create these things and so forth. So that's kind of what the quote relates to. Here's our second use of our source. Again, these can be quotes or paraphrase. When one faculty or staff member creates a quiz or review, it can easily be shared with others by placing it in the workgroup Blackboard shell. Adding this material to FYE Blackboard would not be too time-consuming. Most quizzes can be graded by the program, and that also will save time and effort. Okay, so we've thought about some strengths, we've thought about some weaknesses, and now in this case, we're going to make some changes to the plan, and we're going to keep some ideas that are part of the plan. So we're going to scrap the idea of having the people sign in at the end. We're going to keep the sign in at the beginning. However, we can have at most events, try to have somebody who kind of monitors the door, which makes it harder for people to walk past. They know they're being watched. Also, they can catch the door to keep the noise from being so extreme. And if they see that somebody's left really early, they can go ahead and remove them from the attendance list. Things like spring and fall fling, instead of having a quiz or a scavenger hunt, we could just have a sign-in table with a faculty or staff member at it. Students can sign in when they get there and when they leave, and somebody's monitoring that to make sure it's fair, and that way teachers can determine whether that was enough time to give credit for. There won't have to be activities that people have to do. And lastly, and this is something I actually wish we would do on campus, is use the merit system outside of FYE. So when it was introduced to us, it was introduced as kind of this portfolio that you would have across your time here, and things would be added, and you could show it off to other colleges and so forth. But we don't really use it here that way. We tend to use it just for the FYE class, and nobody thinks about merit outside of FYE. So I think we should encourage people to use merit and to attend things and get them on their merit record. So maybe if you have so many merit things, you can be entered into a drawing or get a merit badge or something like that. So we're really treating it as more of a reward than just a punishment. You can be encouraged to use the merit for your entire time at OCTC, not just FYE. So this example's on Blackboard. If you have questions about your outline, let me know. There's no particular format in terms of, Roman numerals and all that. You just kind of want to make sure everything has a place. You're getting your ideas on paper. Again, not a paragraph yet, but you're organizing things where you want them to be, figuring out where your interview parts are going to go, and so forth. So let me know if you have any questions and work on that outline this week.